There was a time when I was 6 or 7 again, and being an only child, I thought, I had to make my own fun. And uh, Again, it was a different time, so you could leave your house and go a couple blocks away by yourself and not really be too worried, especially in Gladstone. It was a pretty safe town, still is, but so 6 or 7, and I was learning how to ride my bike without the training wheels on the back. And it was summer, and thought it would be a good idea to ride around a couple blocks away from my grandparents' house. And they lived on a hill, and they were resurfacing some roads. So I had seen on TV where it might be a good idea to, take my bike and jump off some wood that was up a couple blocks from their house. And when you resurface roads, it's just that loose gravel with oil on the ground. And again, it was summertime, so all I had was flip flops on. And the street that I had decided to do this on was down the hill from my grandparents' house. And so I was taking my bike. I wasn't doing anything big. The wood was probably maybe an inch off the ground, so I thought I was making big jumps. And decided, let's get some speed and go down this hill. And I had taken my flip flops off because I don't know. I was a kid, so I'm riding this bike barefoot, and it wasn't it was just one of those little kid bikes. There were no the brakes on there were kind of crap. There was no speed settings or anything, so I decided to go down this hill that they were resurfacing, and the chain came off the bike as I was going down the hill, so I had no way of kicking backwards on the pedal to stop the bike. So I put my bare feet down on this loose gravel going down this hill, and it maimed the bottom of my feet. And when I say maim, it took off 2 or 3 layers of skin, and all that loose gravel and everything in my feet. And it was a good quarter mile, maybe half mile from my grandparents' house, and it was uphill. So I get up. Of course, I wipe out because my feet are dragging, and I pick up my bike. I pick myself up, and I'm walking up the hill. And I remember looking behind me, and I could see black and red footprints, and that was my blood from the bottoms of my feet, and the oil from the loose gravel making footprints on the concrete sidewalk, walking up the hill to my grandparents' house. And I could see my grandma in the backyard gardening. They had an acre on the hill, and she had a flat area where my grandfather, uh, you know, 30 years before that, had made a flower vegetable garden for her. So she was gardening. And I remember looking up the hill and saying as loud as I could, but it was more like, but I said, Grandma. And I remember her looking at me, and the look of terror and shock on her face, because at that point the blood had went up my legs because I was trying to wipe the blood off of my feet and everything. So it was on my hands, it was on my bike. If I remember correctly, the bike was white and red, so the white parts were covered in my foot blood. And I remember my grandpa coming out of the garage running to me, and at that point I believe I passed out, and I woke up in the hospital, and my feet were bandaged. And They told me that they had done this procedure where they put fish skin on the worst parts of it. I don't have any scarring. I have minimal, not a lot. You can't really tell unless it's pointed out, but there was no nerve damage or anything like that. But I do remember a couple days after I got out of the hospital, being that young of a kid, going out into my grandparents' backyard, and they had a pear tree. And I thought it would be a good idea to try to climb this pear tree with bandages on my feet. And you know, the knots in the tree, I had made it. I was able to pull myself up on the couple of branches and then sit there and then pull myself up on the other branches, not using my feet. And as you do, I put my feet down on one of the branches, and the next thing I knew, I was falling out of the tree, landed on my back, and my grandpa came out and started cursing me, because that was the best decision I could make at the time, was to climb a tree about 4 days out from having this procedure done on my feet. Follow me and like for more.